It seems weird. Number one, you're not going to convince me that he's in these rooms doing poorly in interviews when we have 4 years of evidence that the man's great in front of the camera, including his combine press conferences. You just can't lie to me like that. Speaking of the combine, no top quarterback throws at the combine, including Cam Ward, who is also in this draft. And lastly, I want y'all to clip this video. And next year, the year after, when Arch Manning comes out, compare how they talk about his family as opposed to the way they talk about Shador's family. Because next year it's going to be, oh, he comes from football royalty. Oh, look at the stock. You got to bet on the genes. Talking about him like he's a pit bull. But this year, Shador's spoiled. He's arrogant. He's this, he's that. Dog whistle, dog whistle, dog whistle. Sometimes you got to call this for what it is, man. They're not even trying to hide it no more.
You know what's funny? Archie Manning basically micromanaged Peyton and Eli's early careers. And everybody was like, man, what a supportive dad. He told the Chargers to straight up not draft Eli or he wasn't playing. That was cool when he did it, but it's different for Deion. Shador and Deion have a similar vibe. Suddenly, it's danger. Don't draft him. Is it just me or is there a slight double standard happening here? What's the secret sauce that the Mannings had that the Sanders family's missing?
It has really bothered me. It is on my heart because here's the deal. I see this takeaway as a reminder that if you're a parent, if there's a child in your life, pour as much confidence as possible in them. If they are good, tell them that can be great. If they are great, this is how you can be greater. Because the last voice you want in their heads when they are facing a challenging moment is what you have poured in. Because in truth, if you pour confidence into them, when these nefarious forces, whether it's an individual or an organization, tries to tell them that they are not good, great, hardworking, they don't hear that. That sound is drowned out by your voice. And it's not a one-time conversation. It's a drumbeat. And I think that's what Deion Sanders has done. He was on my show, and I believe that. And thank goodness he did, a drumbeat of confidence because he knew what was coming or what was possible.
Something I learned being a Black kid who grew up in the suburbs and went to a private school with kids whose parents were execs in Fortune 500 companies and then went to an amazing college and then had to beat the Nepo baby allegations because my dad was a pastor and I followed in his footsteps, even though I was really good at it. Like, let's climb the corporate ladder in my life is that Black success is scary. And there's a particular insidious type of racism that happens for Black success, Black familial success, that is different than the way racism is typically portrayed. I hate to quote the artist formerly known as Kanye West, but there's broke nigga racism and there's rich nigga racism. And most of the racism we talk about that's individual, not so much the structural, is broke nigga racism. It's look at those poor Blacks. Look how we've helped this young man. If you watch Game Day every year has the one Black kid who gets adopted by the white family and becomes an incredible football player. And they're just out there like, oh my God, we love him so much. There's that. That is praised. That's looked at as a great thing. Having a family that is doing well, that is assured of itself, that actually knows what it's talking about, that kind of family support is seen as being too in the weeds and too much. And I'm not talking about Deion. I'm literally saying my dad had to go up to my high school at one point and have a conversation with the administration and explain to them that they didn't know how to handle me. They knew how to handle the poor Black kids who were on scholarship, who came in just to play sports. They loved having the kid whose future was dependent on them and their education. They didn't know what to do with the kid whose future was going to be built on the foundation that my family had put forward. I was going to be successful because of who we were, not because of who they were. And for some folks, Black people should only exist in a space when their existence can be used as a means of making that white person feel better about who they've helped. But I didn't need their help, so they didn't know how to deal with me. So now, whether it's the Sanders or the way that we talked about LeBron James and his son, it's important to recognize there's a particular insidious way in which conversations about confident, successful families that are Black comes into play. Conversations about nepotism that we only hear come into play when the characters are Black, that we don't necessarily hear when the Black characters are dependent or need. I'm so grateful I wouldn't make it without this opportunity because that's the only way Laura Ingraham can get on TV and say, you're only in the position you're in because we've done this for you. And so LeBron knows what that feels like to be broke and come up. Deion knows what it feels like to be broke and come up. They have both created family experiences for their kids, but that's not the case. And now America doesn't know how to deal with their kids.
I got three.
But you think you can beat it?
I know I can beat it.
You know it. Very confident.
I'm very confident.
You say it so easily. Why?
Because I believe it.
And let me tell you why. What she said it with so much confidence the first time. But if you keep going on and on, listen, we can't keep interrupting. I mean, if you want, you got to understand that you're dealing with an image of a 14-year-old child. And this child gonna be out there playing with your old ass and me gonna be in the grave. When she says something, we done told you what's happening. You're dealing with a little black kid, and let her be a kid. She'll answer it with a lot of confidence. Leave that alone.
Good morning and welcome to welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I'm your host, Stacey Brown. This is the Black Press's morning show.
Peace and love, Stacy. Let's jump into some headlines right now.
Well, I obviously want to start with that video there. I got only a couple of things to say. First of all, I appreciate what everybody was saying there. I appreciate the history there that really, as someone put, King Richard standing up for his daughter there, Venus. There's very few Black Nepo babies, number one. But the other thing that strikes me in all of this, everything that people are saying is probably true about the racism. Of course it's true, right? But here's my problem. Seems like Black people as a whole, we just love to complain instead of really taking some serious action. Listen, the thing is, the NFL has showed us who they were a long time ago. You know what like you said all the time, the 92%, y'all got your fans and y'all not being bothered. Stop being bothered with this. I'm not going to worry. Listen, I'm not going to worry about Deion Sanders and his kids. They're set for life. Their great-great-grandchildren are set for life. Let me worry about the person in the projects trying to get out. Let me worry about those who are really being oppressed. This NFL stuff, it's time to leave the NFL alone. They showed us a long time ago with Colin Kaepernick. It's just time to just say adios.
That was the biggest story happening this weekend. There was a lot of conversation around it. I love the conversation that Black men were having around this. And I think there were two takeaways from this conversation. There was the one conversation where, if you look at the sport of the NFL, you can kind of hear what, the coaches and the owners were saying from the perspective of, it's time to cut the umbilical cord, Deion. Your son is coming to the league. You can't come and coach from the sideline. We're not having that. That's what I heard a lot of Black men saying over the weekend. Which could be true. The other conversation that's being had is the racial issues and the collusion by the owners, which was similar to Colin Kaepernick. So those two conversations were going on. But I think that we all rallied around the Sanders family, which felt really good. There are these moments where we can come together and say, hey, two things can be right at the same time. But now it's time for Shador to show up and show the NFL, the mistake that they made. And so this conversation is going to continue. I think it's good for the sport. And I think that, how we coexist with the NFL, because it is American sports. Black men love football. So we know that we're not going to stop watching it, but it's just how do we navigate through this racial structure, just like we do all the others.
Well, then deal with it. If we're going to continue to support it, deal with it. That's all I got to say, because this is nonsense that I'm not concerned. Shador Sanders is not that good anyway. Let's call a spade a spade. What's the name?
That's the opinion.
He got picked with the Travis Hunter got picked with the second pick in the entire draft. Could have been number one, but the fact that he was you couldn't ignore his talent, is what I'm saying. Shador, there are a lot of Shador Sanderses out there. A lot. He has the name. There's a lot of Shador Sanderses out there. I'm not concerned about Deion Sanders. I'm not concerned about his family as far as their financial standard. They're being, another superstar or whatever. I could care less about that. It's time for black folks to say enough of this NFL stuff, enough of it. Stop looking for white acceptance. Years ago in the 1980s, Donald Trump could not buy a team in the NFL. You know what he did? He started the USFL. Herschel Walker got millions of dollars to play for Donald Trump. So did a lot of other people. Start your own. We got black billionaires. We keep talking about the financial strength and the almighty buying power of black America, $2 trillion. Let's go get our own league. Stop the nonsense. Leave these white folks alone.
I love the conversation over the weekend. I love the conversation amongst black men, what they were saying. I love how all the old clips were coming out, and it was a very intriguing and robust conversation having this weekend. It was good for the culture. And the way that they did Shador, whether he has $1 million or not, it was disgusting. It was disgusting the way they did.
I don't agree.
You know, supposed to be the number one draft. I'm not finished talking. Supposed to be the number one draft pick before, this draft.
He was never going to be the number one draft pick. He was never going to be the number one draft pick.
He was projected to be the number one draft pick.
Oh,
number
no.
one or number two. He wasn't supposed to go to the 5th round, and he wasn't supposed to be the 144th pick. We know that for a fact. We know that.
Why do we know that?
And the way that they did, because all the headlines said that. I mean, everybody said that.
Let me tell you something. If I was a general manager in the NFL, he would never have been my number one, number two, or number three pick.
But he was projected, and for him to be the 144th, come on. All the coaches colluded to teach Deion Sanders and his son a lesson of humility and to humble them. That's what they did.
If we put the same if we put the same energy into our HBCU programs as we do the NFL, we'd be much better off. Time to let it
we could do
go.
Both.
We don't have to do both. Why are we going to buy the white man's ice?
But who are you to decide?
I'm just saying. I'm not making a decision. I'm just like you. I'm giving an opinion. Just like you, I'm giving an opinion. I believe if black folks concentrate more on HBCU programs and leave that NFL where it's at.
I think you could do both.
I don't think you have to do both. Is my argument. You can't do both.
If people want to watch the NFL and do that, they can, and they can support HBCUs. It's America.
Okay, then stop complaining about NFL. Then stop complaining about them. Stop complaining about their racism because you're supporting it. Your dollars are supporting it. That's all. That's the bottom line. Stop complaining about it. Is all I'm saying. We gotta, especially in this moment, in this time, we gotta stop it. We gotta start owning our own stuff. We gotta start owning our own culture and stop letting them dictate what our culture is. Stop letting them dictate what is good for us and what's not. I would never have said. I would have been just like King Richard. You step out of pocket with my child, I'm in your face. It's like Richard, but you're not gonna get a second opportunity. You're not gonna get a second opportunity. And whatever happened,
I think that was the whole point of them doing that. Because that's what Deion Sanders was. He is. He's like a King Richard. He did that for his son. He walked his sons from elementary school to middle school to high school to college, from HBCU to a PWI. He did that to get his sons to the NFL, for them to be contenders. So he has done that. And that's the whole point. The NFL was trying to put him in his place.
You know, Ice Cube said he sued the NBA for trying to block his Big Three league. But the point is, Ice Cube got his own league, and he said, you know what? Forget you, NBA. I'm doing my own thing. And he's got a lot of folks watching the Big Three. He's got now he's getting more and more sponsors for the Big Three. Black folks can do it without all of the. That's what I talked about the other day about the Oscars. Forget the Oscars. Start your own. We are in 2025 and we want to complain about something run by white folks. Leave them
And
alone.
I think another huge story coming out of here is that NFL draft, nobody would have paid attention to it. But once again, it was the Sanders factors that had it the number one trending story over the weekend. It is because
Of
of
course, it's a
Deion
trending
Sanders
story. It doesn't
and
mean
his
that.
sons.
I think the
And,
draft.
and so it lives up to Shador's thing about being legendary. If the Sanders weren't involved in this draft over the weekend, it wouldn't have been the headlines that it has. So I think it proves
It
that the
proves
Sanders
nothing to
boys
me.
are ones to be watched in this upcoming season. And let's just see how it all plays out.
It's the same thing with the Ball family in basketball. The father made all that noise,
No, I
whatever,
absolutely
and
agree.
okay, you see it different. See, I can't have my opinion according to you, but you can have yours. You can have yours. See how
I
that
just
works?
said no, that's your opinion. I'm just saying I didn't agree with that. I don't think I think it's kind of
I,
similar, but not the same thing.
all right. I just think
I
we
mean,
put
that's
too
just my
much into
opinion.
this. All right, but I think we put too much into this. I think that Shador Sanders should he have been the fifth round pick. Most, like you said, most will argue not. Should he have been in the first round or the second round? Most will argue not. The fact that he's Deion's kid only adds to the story because Deion was great at what he did. Doesn't make his kid great at what he did. LeBron's kid barely is an NBA player. You can make an argument he's not an NBA player, but he's in the NBA. Shador's in the NFL. So enough. That's enough. It's enough. What is that doing for us overall? What is that doing for black folks overall in this moment? That's my argument. Leave it alone. Leave the NFL alone. We forgot about Colin Kaepernick. We just joined the party of white folks who forgot about Colin Kaepernick.
Well, I
Who
mean,
they
he
wanted
was
us
part of Colin Kaepernick was part of the conversation this weekend. So I mean, he
only
was
for the
part of
weekend.
he was part of the conversation. But the thing is that he stays there. I mean, he's always in my conversation, right
Okay.
there. But
All
I
right.
mean, he was part of the conversation this weekend, which brings it back up. And the reality is the NFL has a stain that is always going to be there, and we're always going to see it. But at the same time, I mean, the football is an American sport, and people are going to watch it. And,
So
and really, football is the one day, other than Sunday, where it brings the whole entire America together. White, black, red, yellow, brown. I don't care how you see it, how you say it. It does. And we
Tom
black folks
Brady
have a
was
comment about what happened this weekend.
Tom Brady was selected in the last round of the NFL draft. He became, many say, the greatest quarterback in history. I don't agree he's the greatest quarterback in history, but he's won a ton of Super Bowls. He is certainly among the most famous quarterbacks in history. Um,
Hmm.
Look, if Shador is any good, then we will hear from
Right.
him on the field where it counts. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And
But
this is going to make his story great. To your point, this is what's going to make his story great because right now, all he can do is perform. That's all Shador can do right now is perform and live up to what all of the hype his father, and his stats say. So,
okay,
we'll see.
all right, we will see. Um, this year's White House Correspondents Association dinner looked a whole lot different than in previous years. There was no president, there was no comedian, and the usual crowd of politicians was just not there. Not one member of the Congressional Black Caucus was spotted there, as you see Lauren Burke with the hat on in the red back there near the red carpet. Um, we were there, and what was nice about it was that it celebrated the First Amendment. It celebrated journalism the way I believe that gathering should anyway. Um, it's a shame that Amber Ruffin was treated the way she was. She should have been there. She should have been the comedian. But the fact that she wasn't, I think the evening turned out a celebration of the First Amendment. April Ryan of Black Press USA was shouted out from the platform by Eugene Daniels. Um, as the longest serving White House correspondent in history. And it was a it was a pretty good night. The food was okay as usual, um, but the parties were the talk of the town. Of course, there wasn't as many as there used to be. There was a clear difference in this year's presentation than in previous years, but nonetheless, it was a celebration and an affirmation of the First Amendment and journalism. What I did not like, I will say this up top, is the award winning, I believe it was an Axios reporter who is April and her agent, Tracy. Um, what he said in his acceptance speech was that the media let the public down. I'm paraphrasing him, but this is what he said, um, and not telling because he won the award for his Biden breaking the cognitive problem that Biden had last year that was obvious during the debate that the media hid, helped hide that story. And I think that he was totally out of line. He was totally wrong. When I went back just to double check before my little diatribe this morning, and I knew in real time it was being talked about even before Axios and that story that he won for came out. So the idea that the media buried that story, I think he was doing the bidding of the White House by finding another way to slam Joe Biden. And I thought it was inappropriate and out of place. He got a little applause for it. I did not applaud. I thought it was ridiculous and in bad taste.
Well, Trump definitely let the air out of this balloon right here, because it used to be the talk of the town. I mean, everybody wanted to watch because you wanted to see what celebrities were going to be there, who was sitting at whose table. You wanted to see the roast from the on the president. And sometimes, when Obama was there, sometimes you wanted to hear what the president had to say, because it's very rare that you see the president in such a joking and relaxed manner. But for the White House Correspondents Association to just totally fold, the president's not there, but you're still gonna pull the comedy. It just kind of, left the event feeling flat. And like I say, this probably would have been the number two or number one story over the weekend. But because Donald Trump just totally tore it apart, it kind of got lost in the weeds of everything. And most importantly, for the first time, you have an openly queer president of the White House Correspondents Association. And for the whole night, there he is, Eugene, to be stripped from him. No president, no comedy. You lose all of your Hollywood factor. I mean, it's just whack.
Well,
I hate
I
that
think
that happened to. I hate that that happened to Eugene.
well, I don't think anything happened to Eugene. I think Eugene basked in the glory of being the headliner last night, his last as president. Listen. I'm telling you, sitting there watching Eugene speak all night and talk about his family, talk about his upbringing, talk about his career. Eugene had his moment in the sun, and I don't think Eugene walked out of there. In fact, I saw him the morning after, tired and some and his flamboyant pink sequin laced jacket, looking in all his glory. I believe that Eugene enjoyed himself immensely Saturday night. Um, he his speeches were on point though. As much as he spoke, I think everything he spoke about was on point, and I think it was a serious message that was sent on Saturday night. As you mentioned, him being the first openly gay president of the association, passing the baton over to the CBS White House correspondent, who it will be the first woman of color to be the White House Correspondents Association's president, shouting out April Ryan as the longest serving, and also honoring HBCU students that we got to meet. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
there was a clear message, not over the top, but clear message that the White House correspondents um, as a whole is a very diverse group, and it celebrates all kinds, all genders, all kinds. Put it that way. And I think that it came across. And I know that if the president watched, he wouldn't be
Mhm.
overly pleased with the colorful, and I put colorful in quotations, night that it really was, because it celebrated people of color in a lot of ways Saturday night. And that's what's important. But most important, there was a lot of pushback against this idea that the media is the enemy of the people or the enemy of the state, as Donald Trump has repeatedly stated. And we are not the enemy. And that was
Right.
shown in a lot of ways. I don't think the fact that Trump wasn't there, we knew from the get. Trump never attended during his 4 years, his first 4 years. There was no reason to believe he would attend this time. And I don't think it was missing Trump as much as it was missing the comedian.
And
And
yeah, and the celebrities and the
and the
viewers
celebrities. We had
and the
three
viewers.
celebrities, right? We and the viewers probably, yes. We had three celebrities that I noticed. Michael Chiklis, who used to play in one at the time one of my favorite TV shows, The Shield. Wonder Woman, Linda Carter was there, and someone I don't know the guy's name from the White Lotus was there as well.
I
So
love that
uh,
show.
yeah, I don't know the guy, but it was pointed out to me that, oh, that's who he is. I'm like, okay, whoop de doo. So I didn't know who he was. So, but that was about the size of it. But Bobby Henry, who's writing in, says because he was there with his wonderful wife Bertha. For me, he says one of the moments I will remember is being with one of our high school interns, Yamich Alcindor, who, by the way, Bobby, since you bring that up, um, when they made the announcement about April, where did the cameras go? To Yamich. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you. We all look alike, according to them. Just terrible. Terrible stuff. Um, so there was a sit-in with our thumbnail brings out. It was a sit-in on the Capitol, US, at the U.S. Capitol yesterday, and that was led by Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, and also House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And other people joined the sit-in as well, including the Reverend William Barber II, and others, activists, and it was really a couple of things with that. One, it was a really interesting thing. Interesting that they would do this, but what made it a little less interesting, or not maybe less interesting, but a little disheartening, was that they didn't give us a heads up. Um, Hakeem's one of his spokespeople texted me about 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were already an hour in. I didn't know about it. We didn't know about it. There's so many people who said they didn't know about it. It was, at Washington Hilton, a lot, hundreds and hundreds of journalists who did not know about this. Bad job right there, but good event.
Yeah, the crowd grew. It started with the two of them. And then it grew to, a couple hundred people pulling up on them, like you said, few lawmakers. And I think that, it's a symbolic gesture. But as they continue to try to figure out how to resist this Trump administration. And so, I mean, I think that, all of these things, as if they continue to do them, it will make impact. Right now, it just seems like a symbolic gesture. Okay, they were sitting on the porch, they were sitting on the steps, I said the porch, the steps, and the crowd kept growing. And
It
so
did.
it's just like, how do you figure out? They were there, and then over in Atlanta, you had the kickoff of the State of the People Power Tour that was held at the Dream Center, which is pastored by William Murphy. You guys know William Murphy is the psalmist that sings "Praise is What I Do." So they were over there at his church. You had Joy Reid, you had Dr. Wes Bellamy, Pastor McBride, Gary Chambers, Angela Rye led it, Jamal Bryan was over there. So you have all of these different pockets of resistance that are happening, and hopefully, like, the people are gravitating to these these examples of how you resist, and the numbers grow, and then they all come together, and we do something. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's Pinky.
Mhm.
That's Pinky. She owes Slutty Vegan. So they had business, activists, politicians, over in Atlanta mobilizing. You had Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker in DC, with a sit-in. So the resistance, the movement is happening. And we just gotta fall in where we fit.
Get in where you fit in. Maya
Right.
Wiley was there as well, as so many others started, as you mentioned, started to join Hakeem. The viewer under the name What Was said that Corey and Hakeem look like brothers. They really do. Um,
Hmm.
they really do. And then you see Senator Reverend Raphael
Warnock.
Warnock, who attended. And speaking of Warnock, remember he came into office with John Ossoff out of Georgia, and John Ossoff
And
said over the
apparently he
weekend,
missed church yesterday.
"Okay, you pointed it out."
Well, I mean,
uh,
he preaches every Sunday. I think that's a
okay,
fact about him, that he travels back to Atlanta to preach at Ebenezer for the most part every Sunday. Pretty
okay.
cool.
Um, but John Ossoff over the weekend, the senator out of Georgia, um, said that he would now begin a push for impeachment of Donald Trump. Where that goes, probably not far at all. But this is, he along with not Reverend,
Al Green.
Al Green. Why I don't know why I was calling him Reverend, but Al Green, the representative from Texas, Democratic representative of Texas, has also said the same thing. So you got at least a member of the House and a member of the Senate who now say that they want to push for impeachment. So we'll see where that goes. Interesting
Right. Did
stuff.
you see over the weekend as well? They had the funeral for the Pope, and Donald Trump was non-compliant on all fronts. Everybody's in black suits. He comes in the navy blue. He's nodding, forcing Melania to hold his hand, putting stuff in his mouth, just looking out of touch, out of place, and like he
You
needs to
know,
be out of office.
you know, it's so interesting because one of the things that they did during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they showed a clip of all of not all, but many of the former presidents, including, of course, Obama, who probably of all presidents had the best moments at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but Clinton, Bush, and even Ronald Reagan. And they showed them all in two different ways. First clip went around with them joking, and then them being serious about the First Amendment and respecting the free press. Every single one of them, Reagan to Bush Senior to Bush Junior to Clinton, and of course Obama, talked about how important it is that to have a free press to keep the presidents and their elected officials, keep them honest. So very interesting. And you have Donald Trump nodding out during that time at the Pope's funeral in a section. Where was he sitting, in the children's section? I
He
mean, where did they
was.
have him?
And I
They have
mean
him
that
like,
he got the memo for the black suit. He got the memo. I mean, so you're just gonna be defiant and disrespectful to the Pope? The Pope? And Melania is looking like Elvira's cousin, you
Elvira's
know,
cousin.
sitting up there looking, but at least
Wait a
she was
minute.
at least she was compliant. She put on the black, she had the veil on. I mean, okay. And then the way they showed their hands, like he was holding her hand, like, you bet not let my hand go.
Mm,
I
mm,
mean, he
mm.
is just the worst. And so you know what they said, Stacey? They said that all of the leaders and all of the other um, dignitaries that attended started posting pictures with Joe Biden. There was nothing of Trump. Everybody was posting their pictures with Biden.
You know, Joe Biden was actually, was it last year or the year before? He was really good at the dinner. I think it was the year before with Roy Wood was the comedian. Biden was really good. That I think it was last year. In fact, he was really good. I remember laughing. Yeah, it was last year. I remember laughing and uh, surprisingly um, pleased with his appearance there at the dinner last year. But you know, Trump will always try and march to the beat of his own drums, and then people will say, "What's wrong with marching to the beat of your own drums?" Well, when you have 34 felony convictions, when you have sexual assault adjudication against you, when you have bankruptcies after bankruptcies, there's a lot wrong with marching to your own drum. Look at that. That is Nia. Come on, you should have been there to wake him
I
up.
saw it. I saw it. I was like, wow, this guy right here. And you saw he also tweeted about he had time to tweet about the NFL draft.
Yes, he was saying how
And I didn't
ridiculous it was that Shadua was not being picked. Which
mm,
I don't know that does Shadua a service. Having this guy tweet about it.
well really I didn't what I was about to say was I didn't know if he was being facetious or not
You never could tell.
with that tweet. You
Because
just never
yeah.
know with him.
Well, suppose they took him first, right? He would have had a problem with that too, probably. So, like you said, you just never know. You just never know. And as Dr. Joni too mentions, the crowd applauded when the Ukrainian president Zelensky showed up in Rome, and they totally ignored Trump. Um, he said the slept on Don. Mike V says the slept on Don. And he also mentioned the first 100 days, Trump has the lowest rating, approval rating in history when it
Right.
comes to the first 100 days. That tells a lot. Tells a lot. And of course, he'll say fake news.
Right. I mean, but the question is, what are we going to do about it? If his approval rating is so low, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that you're going to show it in the midterms? Does that mean that
Be too late by the
you're
midterms.
going
They
to
keep.
what does that mean? I just want to know what that means.
That's a good question. It's a good question because we hear all the time about approval ratings. And listen, he didn't have a great approval rating during the election, right? But he won. At least we think he. We was told,
Right.
not we didn't think. We were told he won. Somebody said, Dr. Marilyn said, remember,
We
Niall,
was
you
talking
got to give
right,
him
right,
a
right.
break.
And like when is that like to the question, like what does that mean? Does that mean that we're gonna start questioning more the actual election? Are we gonna start questioning the comments he made when he thanked Elon Musk for those votes in whatever
Uh-huh.
state it was on the East Coast?
Uh-huh.
Like, what does that mean? His
Right.
approval rating is low.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Except for being able to say, oh, how, you smell. I mean, come on.
What?
I mean, look, what else is it? It's like it's almost just no more than just an insult.
Yeah. I saw over on TikTok this weekend his granddaughter they're starting to put her in our algorithms, and over the weekend she just did a whole full um tour of the White House private residency. She took us to the gym, she took us to the private bedrooms, to the private balconies. I mean, she took us all behind the scenes, and you know took us to dinner. They was having dinner. I was like, this is interesting. I mean, because we've never had that much access to the private residency. I've never seen it in that way. I mean, she took us all behind the scenes, and I just thought that was interesting. How, for whatever reason, she's popping into our algorithms and doing our this content. And I'm talking about, I think it's one of the son's daughters, but she's a golfer. She plays a lot of golf.
Okay. Well, Dr. Joni too says that people are out in the streets nearly every day. She says, I think seeing those poll numbers help give oomph to the efforts to
Mm.
oppose his kidnapping of children, etc. So maybe those, to try and answer your question, your great question about the approval numbers, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that does give even more motivation and, as she put it, more oomph to the resistance, because you do have now you have something to show. This is proof as to why we are resisting. So
Right, right. And then you have all of these opportunities like the sit-in, you have the Congress members sitting on the steps of the Capitol. You have the State of the People, which kicked off in Atlanta, and now they're moving to another state. And so you have the town halls that people are pulling up to. There's Cliff Albright from co-founder of Black Voters Matter. And so you have all of these things happening. And so it gives people more opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, that resonates with me. I get a lot of flack because everybody is like, you're too black centered. And I'm like, that's the only center I see. So if I'm gonna pull up to something, you can best believe it's gonna be something like the State of the People. Okay, it's gonna, I'm gonna be black centered because my politics are black. And I
there's,
don't think
only,
that there's anything around
there's
wrong
only
with
one
that.
there's only one center for you, huh?
Hey, I'm sorry. Sorry, but and I'm not inclusive. I mean, I'm not exclusive. I'm very inclusive. But if I'm going to advocate for something, it's going to be something that is for my community, which always in the black experience has benefited everybody else.
Well, finally, Bison for Life writes in that polls mean nothing at this point. They're trying to humanize authoritarianism. The flip side of it all too, right? Even to put a poll on this guy, it
Mm-hmm.
makes him seem like he's legit. And so I think that's another great point that somebody's making. But here's a little sliver though of good news when it comes to this administration. They have surprisingly promised to restore, and it's a promise right now. So we'll see what happens. But they've surprisingly promised to restore funding to a landmark study on women's health, just days after researchers who led the study announced that the funding had been cut. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said in a statement that it's going to give the funding back to the Women's Health Initiative, which is a 30-year study of over 160,000 women, which has led to the discoveries in women's health on everything from cancer and hormone therapy to chronic disease, aging, and osteoporosis. So the funding for the study's clinical coordinating center should continue through January of 2026 at least. So we'll see if they follow through on this promise, but it is a sliver of good news, right?
Well, I mean, it is just the growing theme within this Trump administration. They take it back, they take it, then they give it back. They take it, then they give it back. I mean, prime example, last week the story April wrote about the museum. They're taking away the counters. Oh no, they're going to put the counters back. Oh, they're taking away the federal worker jobs from the CDC. Oh no, they need to find those people and put them back.
They need to
The
find them.
the air traffic controllers, get rid of them. Oh wait, there's nobody manning the planes. We need to get those people back. I mean, it's a common theme within this administration.
How, again, I say it, and you know what? I know it is an insult. I can't get around it, but how is it? How is it that this is easily, without question, without debate, the most incompetent administration in history? And Paul, I was talking to Denise Rolock Barnes, who's the publisher of the Washington Informer, and she mentioned to me something that I thought of too, but I had never heard anyone else to this point mention it. She says, have you been paying attention at all recently to Rubio? And I said, you know what? Yeah. She says, well, he seems like he is somewhere he doesn't want to be anymore. She said that his eyes tell, and I always say, because I've always enjoyed and appreciated the one line from Scarface. Everyone loves the movie Scarface with Al Pacino. At least the community does. Rap community certainly does, and they love "The World Is Mine" and all that. But the one line that Al Pacino's character Tony Montana said that always resonated with me. He said, "The eyes, Chico, the eyes never lie," and Marco Rubio looks like somebody without a home, don't know which way to turn, caught in a trap that he can't get out. It's like he finally recognized, oh my gosh, what did I do? And there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, look at that guy.
Yeah, that's the typical look on somebody that is a career politician, or a career public servant, that gets in the Trump administration. I remember John Kelly used to have those looks on his face when he was a part of the administration the first time around.
Yeah, I remember John
There
Kelly.
are a lot of, like, the career public servants and politicians that get into that administration. They all have that look on their face less than 100
Disassociated.
days
There
in.
you go, Dr. Joni. Disassociated from his body. That's exactly what we were saying. And that is, and Marco, and as Denise pointed out, as Secretary of State, he travels the world. And so he sees and hears things that maybe your boy Heskis doesn't. Maybe that uh, this guy, Tom, Uncle Tom, in the HUD, don't. And so Marco's, and remember, he was called Little Marco. He was denigrated among so many others by Donald Trump.
Well, I don't even think he has to travel the world. I think those cabinet meetings drain him. There have been reports on several of the cabinet meetings where him and Elon Musk have gotten into it. It's the things that the white boys around the cabinet table say that probably disgust him more. He probably is running to get to another nation. He's probably running to get away from that Oval Office because of what he sees, smells, and hears.
What he sees,
Probably a
smells, and
breath of
hears.
it's probably a breath of fresh air to go to another country.
Listen, you know how we used to always hear years ago, this person defected to the U.S. This. Well, Marco could be the first official, a U.S. official to defect to another country.
Right.
Oh
And
my.
I wouldn't
Let's
blame
get.
him, you know? I wouldn't blame him.
Listen, who would, right? Let's get some of your quickies. You got any quickies on this Monday morning?
The first one I want to talk about is a story coming out of Walgreens and the drug industry. So Walgreens has agreed to a settlement of up to 350 million with the U.S. Department of Justice for allegedly filing millions of invalid opioid prescriptions between 2012 and 2023. Now, the DOJ also sought federal reimbursement for many of those prescriptions through Medicare. Now, what is interesting about this story to me is when we look at what happens to men of color, that are incarcerated for drugs. And, we've seen it with Pfizer. We've seen it with the Sachs family. They only have to pay a fine. Nobody ever goes to jail with these prescription drug cases. And I think that this just points out another systemic racist practice in this country, how white boys get away with the same crimes. I mean, this is no different from a drug dealer on the street selling drugs. I mean, and
Right,
they are
worse. It's
legally
worse.
doing it.
Right.
It's
It's worse.
worse.
Hmm.
They are legally doing it. Fake prescriptions. And they're colluding. They had to collude with the pharmaceutical company to be able to even do this.
Hmm.
And all they have is a $350 million fine.
Do you know fake prescriptions killed Prince? Fake prescriptions killed Michael Jackson. Fake prescriptions killed Amy Winehouse. And I say that because they were allowing, and in fact, I know for a fact in Prince's case, some of that stuff was from Walmart because there was video and photos of him at his last night alive going to Walgreens and
Right.
waiting outside while they pick fake meaning, in this case, fake meaning writing it in other people's names. Even though they are celebrities or whatever, you still, it's illegal to do that. So, and
Right.
filling it.
And let's yeah, and let's, forget the celebrities. Let's just talk
Mhm.
about the common people that they have strung out all across this country. All across this country. And all they have to do is pay 350 million, which is a drop in the bucket for them. And guess what? They're
Mhm.
probably gonna appeal it. And guess what? It's the Trump administration, and all Walmart or Walgreens has to do is have their lobbyists go talk to somebody,
Well,
one of the higher buddies, and this probably could go away from them. Yet there are tons of men in color incarcerated for the same type of crap.
well, I don't know that they're going to appeal it because it is a settlement. That means they agreed to, which was to your point though, tells you that it's just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. But I know that even Pfizer, when this happened, I don't know what they did, but they took it back to court.
Mm.
And
Oh
and,
well,
and that family,
like you said, this is worse
if
than the
you
people being on the streets dealing drugs.
yeah, I mean, and if you look at there's a movie on Netflix about the whole opioid crisis. And I think it was Pfizer, the family that owns it. And they sat around the dinner table and talked about, well, we'll just take it out of this trust. Let's just pay it out of this trust. It's not going to really bother us, and let's move on with our lives.
Mm.
Let's just sweep this under the rug, take it out of that trust, and move on. Other
Mm.
people don't have that luxury or that privilege.
Wow. What else you got?
And so these are the types of things when I think about my government, when I think about how we want to reimagine, how do we want to eradicate systemic racism in this country? These are the things that I think about. The disparities in situations like this.
Right. Mm.
So you know those types of stories we'll be bringing more of. And another story that's coming out of the Black church, Bishop T.D. Jakes has announced he is stepping down as lead pastor of the Potter's House, and he's passing on leadership to his daughter and son-in-law, Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts and Ray Roberts. So I mean, he's been grooming his daughter and son-in-law. They do a church out here in LA. And so I guess they're just going to be bi-coastal. But one thing that the Potter's House is not going to be short of is a word, because both of those individuals have strong words, and they're very relevant and popular within social media and pop culture, and they do draw a lot of people. So um, good that Pastor T.D. Jakes, who had a stroke a few months ago, he attributed that to why he's stepping down and taking things slow. And then there still are, we hate to talk about it, but those lingering allegations
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Against several men against Bishop T.D. Jakes.
And his alleged association with Diddy.
I said men.
I said his alleged association with Diddy.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, he's a man. So, but
that seemed to be a prelude to his stroke.
And maybe this will give him an opportunity to dive more into his philanthropic endeavors.
Sounds good.
And in more church news, the Black church is stepping up and encouraging congregations to become members and donate to the Smithsonian National African American History and Culture Museum. I think this is perfect for the Black church to be, advocating for this, and not just for their tithes and offering, but to tell the members to send it to the museum and become members to help preserve the institution that a lot of us have grown to love, because we know, as you saw in the Black press this week, just the back and forth of, are they going to take it? Are they not going to take it? They come in like a thief in the night and take stuff out. And so this is something that, the church can rally around. And it's a good it's a good thing to contribute to.
Well, what the white church doing?
Oh, did you see the video? There's a trending video. I don't know if Rear can go pull it up from Jasmine Canick's Instagram page. The evangelicals are in the basement of the White House singing hymns and praises. That,
Mm,
that's what
mm.
they doing. There was
You
a
know
ton
the
of them,
cat.
and it was so
Go
funny.
ahead.
Let me just say this. It was so funny when I saw it. It's like the Trump administration had put them in the bottom of the White House. It was boxes in the room, and you had all these white people just like just it, prostrate, just going in. And Paula White, I was like, this is.
Mm.
I don't even watch Handmaid's Tales, but it looked like an episode.
Well, Greer keep talking about Handmaid's Tale too. She said this is it in a nutshell. The Catholic Church, and people you may not say, I don't know if that's considered the white church, part of the white church, whatever, but they should be at the forefront as well, trying to donate to, particularly the African American Museum of History and Culture. And I say that because, again, over the past several years, their role, their just central role in the transatlantic slave trade was exposed, and their continued benefit from that has been exposed. And so they should be funding whatever funding the government threatens to take away from that museum. Should easily, yes, Black folks can get involved and should, get involved, but it should easily be handled by the Catholic Church as reparations.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at that. But they got to get a new pope first.
They
They looking for a pope. We looking for the white smoke.
Yeah,
Where the
the white
at?
smoke. May 7th is when what they call the conclave begins. I understand. So sometime after that, we should see some white smoke come out, and maybe beyond the white smoke, there might be this black cardinal rising.
Yeah, there's a couple of contenders. Black popes. Black. What
That's
do they call them?
ridiculous.
Bishops, black bishops that are contenders to be popes.
Mhm.
Now I don't know
I
if
thought
that's
they had
just
don't
a
have to be
headline.
cardinal.
Oh, I don't see. I'm not Catholic.
Yeah,
I'm not Catholic,
yeah.
so I don't know. Okay, so cardinals. There are
No, I
two
don't know
cardinals,
either.
two
I'm just
black
asking.
cardinals.
Listen, I don't know that
Oh, it
stuff
could be
either.
cardinals. There are
Okay.
two high level Catholics. We'll put it that way. They're black African American men that are contenders, so they say, to be pope.
Okay.
Now, will
Well,
that happen? I don't know.
oh gosh, that's what they said the last time, right? I think they had like 5 of them the last time. And speaking of staying in your lane of churches, we've taken the black card from somebody from the church today, and you know who that is? None other than Daryl Scott. We are revoking his card. Should have been revoked. This buck dancing fool should have had his card revoked a long time ago. Over the weekend, he posted on social media this quote. He says, Democrats kicked in a former president's door. He was referring to Donald Trump, arrested him on bogus charges, imprisoned scores of supporters without due process. He was referring to the January 6th insurrectionists. And then Daryl Scott, the pastor there, claimed that Democrats are, quote, whining because an illegal got deported, talking about the young man from Maryland illegally deported, and a criminal harboring judge got arrested, he says. This guy is absolutely a low form of a human. And he's also, no surprise, the co-founder of the New Spirit Revival Center in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, a church, get this, that he co-founded with Michael Cohen, the National Diversity Coalition for Donald Trump. So yes, they are arresting judges, and Pastor Daryl Scott, a so-called man of God, defends somebody who had due process, who had 34 convictions, still has 34 convictions. It's not off his record, folks. And still has another 50 some odd indictments still there. They have not been tossed. They've been set aside while he's president. And also, let's not forget, still on the hook to Tish James in the state of New York for to the tune of $500 million that a judge ruled that he owes the state. And twice, a jury said he was a civil jury said he was liable for sexual assault. And this is what, and then you get the mob of people going into the Capitol that Darrell Scott defends. Are you kidding me? This dude, card revoked. Totally revoked.
Snatch it.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
It's one thing that listen, again, it's one thing you can defend or support, I should say, whoever you want. If that means you support Donald Trump, fine. But don't do that right there. All right. Let's go to a black fact right quick.
Let's do it.
So it's on this date in 1967, boxing legend, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali was stripped of his heavyweight championship title after he refused to be inducted into the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. Ali had fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, eventually winning on conscientious objection to the war. And, you know, that was probably the most controversial war ever, the Vietnam War. So
right.
They couldn't beat Ali in the ring. So they beat him in court until he went to the Supreme Court. So that's one Black history fact.
All right, and a Black history fact for today is Beyonce kicks off the Cowboy Carter tour. This concert will be critically acclaimed, and she made history with this album by winning the album of the year, country album of the year for Black women. That is historic, and so she kicks off her tour today here in Los Angeles, California at SoFi Stadium, and I'm sure by tomorrow morning, Stacey, it will be all over social media, and I'm excited because I'm going next weekend.
Oh, okay, there you go. And look, real quick, 30 years ago today, according to ONG, the movie Friday made it to the movie theaters, and they have confirmed finally that there will be another Friday movie.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day is none other than the legendary, the one I grew up on, the Amsterdam News. The New York Amsterdam News was started more than a century ago with a $10 investment. It has gone on to become one of the most important Black newspapers in the country, and today remains one of the most influential Black-owned and operated media business in the nation, if not the world. Check out the New York Amsterdam News. We had to have one on our coffee table alongside the New York Times all the time. Check out their website at the Amsterdam News to get the latest from that great historic newspaper.
Mm-hmm. All right, and you know how we do it for the latest in Black news and headlines that are uplifting and impacting the Black experience. You can head over to blackpressusa.com.
Well, another one in the books, Niel. Enjoy your day. I don't know how you do it, but we appreciate you. Early, she's out on the West Coast, folks. Okay. Well, we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let it be known.